Hello and welcome to part 2 of the literature search video series. In part 1 of this literature searching video series on the QMU LRC YouTube channel, we talked about searching literature using our Discover search engine and a number of search techniques. It is therefore assumed that you are already familiar with these, and if you're not, please watch literature searching part 1 before this video. Discover is a useful tool to start with. However, students in higher years are expected to start using specialist bibliographic databases that are relevant to their topic of research. And in this session, we will concentrate on them, as well as learning further search techniques to add to the ones learned in part 1 of this series. The outcomes of this session are learning how to develop your literature search with further tips to use in your locating the resources necessary to perform your search, learning how to search databases on the Proquest and EBSCO platform by using keyword searches and additional tips to refine your search. Here are the steps to literature searching planning. Since they were detailed in the literature search part 1 video, we will not dwell on them. They are here simply as a reminder. Define your topic of research unless it has already been defined, your academics. Divide your research topic into main concepts, which you will use to create lists of search terms or phrases for each main concept using the technique in this presentation. Then you would develop your search strategy using various other tips you will learn or you have already learned. Decide what resources to use, and then of course perform the literature search, at the end of which you will retrieve your results. We are taking the topic from the literature search part 1 video, the effects of deforestation on climate change, and are narrowing it down slightly by focusing on deforestation in the Amazonian forest, to use as an example of how you might develop your search strategy should your topic too wide-ranging. In instances where you find too much literature on a topic and you cannot narrow it down using the various search techniques at your disposal, you may wish to narrow down your topic by focusing on a specific aspect of that topic in a similar way. On the other hand, if your topic is too narrow or focused to start with, and you find little or no literature, you may need to widen your topic to make it more general. In our case, we are focusing on the effects of deforestation in the Amazon on climate change. We are doing this in order to illustrate how you might deal with a topic that has 3 main concepts, since in addition to deforestation and climate change, we now also have Amazon as a 3rd concept. This is necessary to help us create the lists of keywords and key phrases around each concept. We initially had 2 concepts, deforestation and climate change, but now we have a 3rd concept, Amazon, with its synonyms and related terms, which will be used in our search. In this case, I also listed the countries in which the Amazon forest is found. In-depth explanation on how to develop lists were given in part 1 of this video series. Remember the use of truncation, phrase search, and Boolean operators, and, or, and not, from part 1, which we will be using again. In addition, we have a number of new search tips. Round brackets are used to replace search boxes. For example, if you can't write each term or phrase in a separate search box within a database because the maximum number of boxes in a database is not enough for all your terms, you can write all the terms in one box as a search string. However, you need to separate what would have been written in a box by using rounded brackets, except where you have single words or use a phrase search, i.e. quotation marks. The proximity operator N stands for near. This is useful sometimes instead of searching for an exact phrase. It gives you flexibility to retrieve articles that not only contain the exact phrase, but also a combination of the words within a given number of words of each other. For example, climate, N3 change, with an asterisk truncated, means searching for climate within 3 words of the word change, in any order, include the exact phrase climate change, but also changes in climate, climate is changing, change on regional climate. You'll notice I have also used truncation here because I'm thinking about using the plural for change, as well as changing. Wildcards, represented by various symbols, depending on what database you use, are usually inserted within words to search for different spellings, such as British spelling of behavior, or to replace a character with any letters, but do check the specific symbol used in each database. Your final search may look like this. We are now making use of all the search tips to combine all the search concepts and their synonyms together in a logical way to search the databases. Databases don't understand natural language, and these search tips are there to translate natural language into a language that databases do understand. I used truncation and phrase search and the round brackets with the near operator to separate the climate change idea, which I see as one unit, and I would have put in a separate search box in the database. This is if I choose to type everything in one search box as one search string. I don't need the brackets for the phrase searches because I used quotation marks, and I don't need brackets for single words either. We will be searching for each concept with all its synonyms using the Boolean OR to retrieve articles that contain any of these words, after which we will be doing the same with the second concept and the third one. At the end of these 3 searches, we will have 3 sets of results, one for each search, which we will then combine with the Boolean AND to retrieve articles that contain any terms from the first concept, as well as any terms from the second concept and any terms from the third concept. Here is a graphic representation of what we're doing. Let's say we have 2 main concepts, climate change and deforestation, and you search separately for each using the Boolean OR between the terms of each concept. You get a set of results for each of these 2 concepts, and then you use Boolean AND to combine the 2 sets of results in order to retrieve only the articles that contain any of these words, as well as any of these words in any combination possible. The use of AND narrows down the search results to make them more relevant, as it is obvious from this picture. When you have more than 2 different concepts, you need to think about prioritizing the 2 most important ones. In our case, I hope you agree that climate change and deforestation are the most important ones. And if, for example, you were to have retrieved, say, 10 results after combining these 2 sets with AND, it is not worth adding a third concept, such as Amazon, because you can quite easily have a look at the 10 titles and spot what is relevant. However, if you were to retrieve, say, 10,000 results, then you will know there is scope for narrowing or focusing your results. So you should search for your third concept, Amazon, and its synonyms, and combine the set of results using Boolean AND with the two other sets. And your search would look something like this. Apply the same logic if you have 4 main concepts. I would advise you not to go beyond 4 main concepts as the maximum, because you risk being too specific and you risk narrowing your search too much, which could mean there is no literature written on such a narrow topic. In the case where you have already combined 3 or 4 concepts and you find no literature or hardly any, then it is worth dropping one of the concepts, the least important one in your view, which will widen your search. Another reason for not finding enough literature on a topic is that you may be searching in the wrong data for the topic in question. This is why it is vital that you pick up the correct database by going to the library website, following the link to the library resources, and picking up one of the QMU library guides, which are designed by the liaison librarians to cover all the programs at QMU. Find your relevant guide, and once there, you will find a tab called Databases or Databases Literature Search to find a list of all the relevant databases for your program. So from any QMU web page, you will see a link to the library. Follow the link to library resources, and then QMU library guides. For this example, I'm going to use the Business Management and Marketing Library Guide. And this is where you will find the Databases or Databases Literature Search tab. All the business databases are found here on the left-hand side, and we also have some more specialized databases on news and newspapers. You will need to sign in through institutional access or through the Shibboleth authentication system. Remember, some of the search tips you are learning will apply across many databases, but many use their own symbols for truncation or phrase search and so on. Therefore, you must consult the help for each database platform to see the specific search tips. We will shortly go on to perform the search as our next step once we choose the relevant databases, but before we do so, it is worth mentioning that most databases can be searched in 2 ways. One, by doing a keyword search, which uses free text, which is what we will use in this video. The other way to search is through thesaurus or subject search, which uses controlled vocabulary. And it is really more of a browsing experience. For now, let's concentrate on keyword searching, and we will deal with thesaurus search in part 3 of this series of videos on literature searching. Here are some notes to refer back to if necessary. The last step, retrieving the results, has already been shown in the first video in this series, but here are the steps to follow if you need to refer back to them. Please familiarize yourselves with the library guide for your subject and explore the resources that have been put together for your convenience by your liaison librarian. I'm going to choose the Business Management and Marketing Program Guide because I already know that a number of databases there are relevant for my topic. Go to Databases or Databases Literature Search. In our case, you may notice that there is a sub-page that belongs to the databases, and you may find that in some of the guides. This is to sometimes divide the databases by certain area that the students study within the business programs. And in this case, there is a page especially developed for marketing. However, we will not go there today, but we will concentrate on the general business and multidisciplinary databases available here. Always choose the databases by looking at their description rather than just at their name. The names are not always descriptive of the literature included. This is why you should use the description for each database, which will tell you what information it covers. However, even that might not always be enough, and you may need to go even further following the link to the data to read more about it. Given our topic and the description of each database, ProQuest Central, which is really a collection of databases which includes environmental resources as well as business resources, would be relevant, given that deforestation is usually done by businesses. However, I only know this because I followed the link to see further details on ProQuest Central, which are available within the ProQuest platform. Go to Change Databases to see what other databases are relevant to you, and only pick those that suit your topic. There is further information about each database, and within that window you can to see even further information. ProQuest Central contains this range of databases, amongst which environmental databases such as this. It also contains some regional databases which may also be useful for this purpose. You may wish to just select a few of these, or you can choose to see all of the ProQuest Central collection. But apart from this collection, there are a few other databases available here and at the top, which are not included in ProQuest Central. Once you have selected your databases, click Use Selected Databases here, and then you can start your search. You may have noticed that in our LibGuide, we have divided these databases from ProQuest on our list of databases, but if you know how to search one ProQuest database, you will know how to search all ProQuest databases, since they all look the same. The difference is that they search different collections of journals. The same is true of all EBSCOhost databases. Now we can start our search. I mentioned that we need to search each concept individually by using all the synonym terms that we've come up with for that concept. The design of most databases enable you to do this, which is what you would want to aim for to make sure you retrieve everything that's relevant. If you have more than two main concepts, do remember to prioritize them. So let's search for the first concept. I'm going to put climate near change, but because this is the ProQuest platform, for ProQuest we use n/ followed by the number, rather than n followed by the number. So I'm going to search for climate within 3 words of change with any ending. Now I'm going to input my second term, my third one, and my fourth one, combining them with or. In order to do that, I'm going to choose or here and type in global warming in double quotation marks in order to tell the database that I want to retrieve a phrase. In order to add more terms, you can add more rows or search boxes by clicking here. I'm going to type CO2 and again choose or to combine all of these with or. And the last term I want to put in is carbon dioxide as a phrase again. I'm changing this to or again, and note that you should type any chemical formulas as a string. Now I should decide where I want to search. Where in the article do I want to look for these words and phrases? You have several choices here. If you click on the drop-down arrow to the right-hand side, you'll be able to see that you can search anywhere, so both in the full text of the journal articles, as well as in the abstracts, in all the subjects, subject headings, author, document titles, and so on. Or you could search just in the full text, or you could search anywhere but the full text of the journal article, which is the default search. Or you could search in the abstract, or in the subjects and indexing, or subject heading, and so on and so forth. Let's just leave this by default, and if you decide to do that for the first term within a concept, then you should do the same with all the terms within that particular concept, just for the sake of being consistent. I want to leave the search as a default just for the sake of having a look to see how many results we retrieve. We have over 2 million results if we search anywhere but in full text. That's quite a lot of results. I have come back to advanced search because I wanted to show you how you would write this or any long search string within one box. So because we have climate near change, we need to use rounded brackets in order to separate that from other terms in the search string. And now we could put global warming. You don't need brackets here because you already have the double quotation marks because it's searching for the exact phrase. And we could put CO2 as it is because it's one word and it doesn't need anything else. And carbon dioxide. So instead of putting everything in a separate box, combining them with OR, I've typed OR in the same search box, but bearing in mind that you need to use bracket for cases when you don't have a phrase search or a one-word term. And if I were to do the same search again, you will see that I have exactly the same number of results as before. But before we go on to do anything else, I wanted to show you the difference between searching anywhere except full text and searching, let's say, in the abstract or the summary of the articles. If we were to do the same search, notice that now I have less than half of the results I initially had. So it matters a lot where you go back to advanced search every time. Let's say this time I want to search in the title. You will notice the difference again. So this time I have less than a quarter of what I had to start with. But hopefully these results will be more relevant because the words I'm searching for will be found somewhere in the title of the articles. What I would like to explain is these terms here. All articles in databases are read by indexers who decide what an article deals with once they've read it. And then they assign different subject headings or subjects to that particular article. So if you were to search in the subjects, then you are searching those words that the indexers have assigned to the art. So that can be a very, very relevant search. Sometimes the indexers give priority to certain subjects. So an article may deal not just with one subject, it may deal with 2 or 3 or more subjects. And sometimes indexers give a higher importance to the subjects that they consider are the main subjects in that article. And you also have that choice to search in the main subjects rather than in any of the subjects in that article. And for this, we have almost 1.5 million results. But what happens if we try just the subject headings, the main subjects? We still have quite a lot of results, however, just slightly fewer than before. Sometimes there may be a bigger difference than at other times. It all depends on the subject. I'm going to search for my terms anywhere except in the full text of the article. I have done this with my first concept. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my second concept. Again, I'm using all the search tips that I have taught you that are relevant for my search. I'm going to search anywhere but full text. And I have over 300,000 results. Now these seem quite a lot, and we had over 2 million results in my search for the first concept. But at the moment, remember, we are doing just separate searches for each concept. And at the end, we want to combine the 3 searches together to narrow down our results. So I'm going to advanced search again, and I'm going to search for my third concept this time, keeping to the same search fields. And I have almost 7.5 million results for the third concept. In Proquest databases, you need to go to recent searches in order to see each separate set of results from each search. You can see here I have my results from the first concept, my results from the second concept, and the results from my third concept. Now you need to follow the help or examples illustrated in each database or platform of how to combine results. And you should always check the help for any other tips for each database, because, as I mentioned, sometimes the tips differ from database to database. So to combine the 3 sets of results with the Boolean operator and, like in my example, in order to focus our search on just the articles that contain any of these words or phrases and any of these words or phrases and any of these words or phrases, I will have to type in the sets I want to combine. And I want set 1 and set 2 and set 3. Click search. And now I only have just over 4,000 results. So it seemed very daunting to start with all those millions of results. However, you can see how quickly the results can come down. Over 4,000 results is still an awful lot to look through. What else can you do to reduce the number of results to something more manageable? Well, there are a number of options here on the left-hand side. You can, if you wish, only include peer-reviewed articles, which are articles reviewed by academics and researchers, and usually they are academic journal articles. If you do that, you will notice that the number of results has gone down quite a lot. However, not all of these are in scholarly journal articles. Some are in magazines, and one is in conference papers and proceedings. You also have the source type option to play with. You could, if you wanted, click on more and see everything that is available. In our case, that's all there is. However, if you went back to the initial results, you will have noticed that there are theses and dissertations, newspapers, magazines, trade journals, and so on and so forth. And you can just pick the resources that you want from this list. I want to choose just academic journals, so I'm going to click on scholarly journals here. And now there are other things to think. Well, most of the times you are asked to include recent research, which is usually the last decade, the last 10 years. If that is the case, you may wish to adjust the publication date in order to get the most up-to-date research. Click Update, and we have roughly the last decade in this range now. And you will see here that the number of articles has gone down again. You may also wish to limit just to articles to which we have full text access. We don't subscribe to all the journals in all of the databases. However, we do subscribe to a fair amount of them. But if you wanted to just limit to articles we have full text access to, you could do that as well. And now we have just under 500 articles. There are other ways to limit the number of results here on the left-hand side, which you can explore in your own time if you wish to look at perhaps company or organization or a specific language or location. However, I would not recommend using language and location as one of the ways to limit your results, because not all articles are assigned a location or even a language, and many articles do have translations in English. You may sometimes wish to perhaps look at the publication title, so the specific journal that you might be interested in, if there is one. You can easily tell from the title of the article if it is in any way relevant to what you're searching for, but if it's not always clear, then do feel free to click on the title and read the abstract or the summary to determine whether you do wish to save the full text article or print it out. Please note that you also have the facility to translate articles from a language into another language, or you can listen to the audio version of the article.
China. Xinlan. Affiliations State Key Laboratory of Environmental Criteria.
If you still feel that you have far too many articles to deal with, then do feel free to go and change your search. It is really important to be flexible and adapt your search as you go along. You may have noticed words that you haven't used in your search as you look through the results. So be aware that you may not always come up with the best search ever, from the very first time you try it. So you may want to add those words to your search and perform it again. But you also have the choice of searching in different search fields. So if you were to go back and change your search, let's just say that we want to search in the title of the article for the location, for example, we could do that. This means that we have far fewer articles now, of course, and in order to recombine those, we're going to go to the recent searches again, and I'm going to now combine set 1, climate change, with deforestation, set 2, but instead of set 3, I'm going to choose set 9 now, which searches in the title for the location. So set 1 and 2 and 9, just to show you the difference. Okay, so now I have far fewer results than I initially had when I combined the 3 sets together. I have just under 500 scholarly journals in this case, but when I apply the date limiter, I now have slightly fewer than before. If I were to do this for the other search terms, which I can do, by modifying the search and choosing the title, as the search field this time, and again I can modify the climate change search to search in the title only, then I can recombine the 3 searches that search in titles. So I could say set 14, set 13, and set 9, and they all search in the title of the articles. So set 9 and 13 and 14. This has drastically reduced the number of results, and I haven't yet applied the date limits, but when I do that, then I have far fewer results than before, and only 22 scholarly journal articles in this case. So hopefully you have now seen the difference between searching in different fields for each of the concepts, and there's nothing to stop you from combining a search for one concept that takes place in the title with a search for another concept that takes place perhaps everywhere but full text. There are no hard and fast rules. You can combine the 2 or 3 concepts together even if they search in different places. But the only thing I would say is be consistent, one concept in one type of field rather than each of these terms within the concept in different search fields. By searching for a concept in the title, that in a way also makes a priority out of that concept, if you like. You might want to search for the most important concept in the title field, perhaps, to give it some sort of priority over the other concept. going back to our library guide, another database that may be relevant for this particular topic is Greenfile. Again, you have a description of it here, and if you follow the link, it will take you to the EBSCO platform. I mentioned that we have two main platforms available. One is Proquest, for which you've just seen a demonstration, and one is EBSCOhost. Again, the same principle is valid in EBSCOhost. We have a number of databases here in EBSCO, and you may wish to search a number of databases in one go if they are relevant for your topic. I will stick with Greenfile in this case because this is the only one that's relevant for me at this time, but you can select and deselect all the ones that you need. And the same principle is valid here. If you know how to search one EBSCOhost database, you will know how to search all of the databases in EBSCO because they all look exactly the same. The only difference is that they search different collections of journals. So I'm going to do a similar search as before. In EBSCO, it is climate N3 rather than N/, but all the other tips that I need to use here are the same as in ProQuest databases. You have slightly different fields here in EBSCOhost, but not hugely dissimilar to the ProQuest search fields. Again, if you wish to search in any of these fields, you can do so, or you may want to leave it to default, which means searching in the title, subject, and abstract fields, which are pretty useful fields to search in. So you may wish to leave it like that to the default, or you may wish to search in the full text of the articles or in one of these fields. I will just leave it to the default field and click search. And you'll notice that the sets of results in it appear here at the top, which is quite useful. My second concept is this. So I'm to use the same default field for now and click search. And my third concept, the location concept, will be in the same field too. I can now combine the three sets of results with the Boolean operator AND by selecting the three sets that I want to combine and clicking search with AND. And now I have just over 400 results to which I can start to apply limits if I want to do so. Let's start with the date limit this time to see how many we have. And I have just under 300 results. If these results don't seem particularly relevant, again, you can go back or search in different fields to make them more relevant. You can again choose to look at just articles that we have full text access to, or scholarly journals or peer-reviewed articles, and so on. Apply the limits that you need, but again, be very careful with language and geography. Not all of the articles are a geographical place or a language, even if the article may talk about that place. So I would advise you not to, although a number of these articles have obviously been assigned a place, not all of them have. Hopefully this will have given you an idea of how to use EBSCOhost and Proquest based databases. You will notice, for example, when you follow the link to some of these databases, that they actually take you to Proquest. So do not be overwhelmed by the number of databases available there, because some of them lead you to the same platforms. However, there are multidisciplinary databases that are also available, which risk being overlooked, and you should use them just as much as the ones that are obvious for your program. And some of these are Science Direct, Scopus, and Web of Science. These are very, very big databases which cover many subjects and will be really, really useful for most of the programs at QMU. They will all have their own search help available, but also notice that we have the search help available here for various databases and platforms. So do explore all of this information here and use it. There are some short videos to remind you of how to use some of the databases, and you will notice that we have written guides here as well for each of the database or group of databases. When you follow the link to Scopus, you will find help and tutorials available to you on the database itself. Here are a few things to bear in mind when doing your literature search. Always try to search each concept and its synonyms separately where possible, using the Boolean operators and all the necessary search techniques you've learned. Always check your spelling. One misspelled word makes a difference between getting results and getting nothing. Choose what fields to search in for each concept and term, if using separate boxes. Combine the sets of results you have retrieved using and prioritizing the most important concepts. Apply any useful or necessary limits. Searching is an iterative process. Most searchers will not come up with the perfect search strategy at the first attempt, so be flexible. Adapt or change your search strategy to suit your search needs, depending on the number and relevance of the articles you retrieve. And here is a summary of the steps we have followed today.